Can you just tell us about uh, what you do and how you kind of started out in this business?
Yeah, so this all started like 3 years ago. Literally, I was sitting in our apartment. I was just bored out of my mind, and I downloaded Poshmark. For whatever reason, I just decided to download it. I did that. I went into my closet, grabbed a few things, and within 30 minutes, something sold. It was literally insane. Like literally within 30 minutes, my first item sold within, downloading Poshmark to actually listing it, it was gone.
That's
And
crazy,
I
man.
just got hooked after that, and I started going thrifting, and it just started to just snowball into this monster that it is now. We ran the whole gamut of everything. I mean, literally from electronics to broken stuff to, I mean, skateboards to literally anything you can sell online. I've made money selling it online. I think we're almost at like 8,000 items sold on eBay over the course of 3 years. So it's been kind of a crazy ride, lots of ups and downs, but yeah, now clothing is our bread and butter.
Yeah.
And it's probably I don't want to say the easiest business model I've ever had, but it's definitely the least amount of effort. So that's kind of my thing in life. I don't like to work too hard. So,
so,
so
so
yeah.
I'm so I feel like I'm the complete opposite of wanting to get into the clothing and whatnot. I've seen all the different brands out
Mhm.
there, and I just was never interested about clothing. Why do you think you're so interested in clothing in general? Because I know there's a lot of females on Instagram that are really into clothing, but there's
Mhm.
very few guys that are into clothing.
Yep.
I'm just wondering why like you really like clothing opposed to like some other things that a lot of like dude resellers usually like shoes, collectibles, things like that.
For sure. That's a great question. Dude. No one's ever asked me that. So thank you for actually asking me. That's a very smart question. I've actually never even thought about it. You're right. It's kind of like a weird niche for a dude, right? Like dude should
Yeah.
be like selling like exhaust pipes and guns and knives and whatever blows up, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I grew up on a really small island in Florida. It's called Key West, and it was really like, I mean, in the middle of the ocean, dude. Like literally, there was nothing else around us.
Yeah.
I have like these really vivid memories of being a young kid and seeing all of these like cool kids, right? Like the baseball players and stuff like that. And like the kids that had money, like the way that they were tying their sneakers was really cool to me. Like back in the day, people would just like kind of tuck their laces out a little bit and not actually tie them, right?
Wow. Okay.
I remember those really vivid memories from elementary school. But back then, like back in the 90s, if you were into fat or back in the early 2000s, if you were into fashion and you were a guy, like people would call you names, right? Like it was not
Yeah.
how it is right now. Like your generation is way different than how I grew up because I'd be bullied for wanting to actually dress cool, right? Or dress in a
Yeah.
certain way. It's just how it was. So I have like these really vivid memories about that, but then I suppressed it for a long time. I mean, I didn't care about clothes up until I was like maybe 24 or 25. And then I got a job at a suit shop. I had never worn a suit in my life before. I was 1 year into New York City. I moved there to pursue culinary and do all this stuff, but I failed at that. And I decided to get this job at a suit shop in the most busy shopping district in New York City, one of the
Oh.
shopping district capitals of the world. It was crazy.
Oh
Somehow
wow.
these
All
idiots
right.
gave me a job. I have no idea why. They let me work there, and within 2 months, I was on the floor selling suits to hotshot dudes. I mean, dude, there was guys that would come in on their lunch break. I kid you not. On their lunch break, they had 45 minutes. They would drop $4,000 on a few suits just for that month, right? It was
Wow.
not like for their year. It wasn't for their bar mitzvah. It was for the month. It was an expense. They wrote it off. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
So I started to learn a lot about clothes and being in that kind of world. All my buddies, they were like, the flamboyant ones. They had Yeezys, they had Supreme, they
Yeah.
had all of the stunts, all the grails, all these things you could ever imagine. And I would look at them I'm like, you guys are idiots. And you guys are so stupid. You're wearing $2,000 sneakers. What's wrong with you? Right. But
Yeah.
then like, it clicked in my head. I'm like, man, people really care about clothes and people really spend a lot of money on clothing, whereas I may not. Like even at this point in my life, dude, this dry
Just
fit Nike shirt is thrifted. Like this is like a $3 freaking beat up shirt. Like I don't waste money on nice clothes like whatsoever. I'm not into hype. I'm not into that kind of stuff. But
yeah.
clothes for me after that job, I learned a lot about fabrics. I learned a lot about the feeling of clothing and what like wearing a suit can do for a man, right? It's
Yeah.
just like one of those like ego or confidence boosts. Like if you know you have a perfectly tailored suit, like
Yeah.
no one can
You
really
feel,
say anything to you, right?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
you're flossing, you're flexing, like no one's gonna say nothing. You could
Yeah.
be the brokest chump in that subway station, but if your suit looks good, someone's gonna compliment you, you know?
Yeah.
So the power of clothing just kind of clicked with me. And I don't know, man, it just kind of stuck with me. And it's always been easy for me. I've always been that kid that was really interested in a lot of things. Like when I was younger, I did
Yeah.
BMX, skateboarding, rollerblading, played I mean, literally anything you could ever imagine. Like as a kid, I pretty much did it. So I learned about brands and I learned about things from a young age. Like I knew North Face was nice. I knew Patagonia was nice just because I like to hike. So it's
Yeah.
like all of these like little life experiences kind of brought it all full circle. I'm like, yeah, let's just do this. Let's just do clothing 100% of the time, right? Whereas like before I would go into a thrift store, you automatically go to the electronics section, right? I don't
Yeah,
do
like
that.
electronics,
Yeah,
shoes,
yeah,
watches,
yeah,
sometimes even like sunglasses, but like
right.
not clothing.
See, I don't do that. I start in clothes and then I go to electronics. It's funny how that works, right? Like, whereas it used to be completely opposite, whereas I was running electronics, I was doing all that stuff and I was
Yeah.
avoiding clothes. But clothes, I mean, it's one of those things where people don't understand. You walk into a thrift store and you're almost oblivious to the amount of clothing is actually in there, right? I mean, next time you go into the thrift store, really look around. 90% of the store is clothing. So it's like,
Exactly.
it's a numbers game. That's the thing. That's why people fail at this. They don't look at it as a numbers game. They don't, buy 1,000 things every few months. They buy 3 things, they list it and it doesn't sell, and they say clothing sucks. So
Yeah.
that's my spiel. That's how we got into it, dude.
Yeah, that's pretty great, man. I think it's pretty insane that you had that foundation in New York with the suits. I think that's pretty unique, and
Hmm.
um I've I haven't always lived in like really rural places before, but I've kind of lived throughout the United States,
Hmm.
and a lot of the places that I have lived, I feel like that presence wasn't as apparent as what happened to you when you were in New York uh trying to become like a, you said a baker, and then,
Yeah, so I was a chef actually. That was my
oh,
first
you were a chef,
career
sorry.
path. Yeah, yeah. So I moved there for that, and then started selling suits, which is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think the environment in New York is absolutely insane for
Mhm.
fashion, but like I feel like everywhere else in the country, it's still apparent, of
Mhm.
course, but I feel like especially if you live in those rural areas, maybe not as much.
Oh yeah, I mean you'll never get exposure to it. I mean, like growing up where I grew up, like I told you, we weren't fashionable. It was an island. People were wearing, cargo shorts and polos and like
Yeah.
boater shoes, right? It was not like the mecca of fashion. And my parents aren't fashionable whatsoever. I mean, my dad's probably the bummiest dude you could ever imagine, you could ever see on the street, right? So I didn't get that from anyone. Like, this is all just self-taught. And I'm not into fashion whatsoever. I am not into fashion. I like
Yeah.
comfort and I like practicality. Like, dude, I'm old. I have a kid. I'm 29. I guess I'm not that old, but having a kid just kind of changes you. It's like if it
Yeah.
doesn't stretch or if it doesn't move, I'm not interested in it, dude. Like
Yeah.
I stopped wearing jeans a year ago because of that.
Jeez. Yeah, I think clothes is definitely a really great business to have.
Hmm.
Just the margins I've seen of these, like some of these Poshmark sellers, they'll
Hmm.
buy something for $3 at the thrift store, and then they'll sell it for like 60, $50. Like that's, I feel like with other categories that's sometimes not as heard of. Like there's people in the shoe game, yeah, you might get a double up, spend $50, make make $50, but if
Hmm.
you're spending $3, $4, and then you might sell it for 40, like that's insane.
That's the thing. And it's all right. Listen, the thing is, everyone wants to go after the big wins. Everyone wants grails. Everyone wants to flip PlayStation 5s and make $1,000 in an hour, right? I mean, like,
Yeah.
and if you can have a choice, like, yeah, you probably would sell all that cool stuff and sell all the hype gear you can get. But people don't think about the big picture. They don't think about like the quantity aspect of it. It's like, how often are you going to find a PS5? How often are you going to find Yeezys for a good deal that you can actually flip? And then at the same time, you have to worry about those being fake. You have to worry about like getting scammed. You have to worry about so many different things. But when I sell a pair of like Patagonia shorts, no one's gonna scam me. Like I don't
Yeah.
have to worry about it being fake most of the time. Like it's just one of those things where I like to scrape off the bottom. People skip over all of this good stuff, man. Everyone goes to thrift stores and they just want to find vintage. They just want to find cool bangers. Like,
Yeah.
but there's things that are worth so much more money than even those vintage things, right? So it's just all about mindset and understanding that there's value across multiple different categories, kind of how you do a completely different hustle, but we're in the same business. You and
Yeah.
I have way different hustles, but we're both resellers. There's nothing different about us. We could talk about this all day, but we just can't talk about the minutia of what we do together, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it is a bit different. What would you say, I'm just kind of interested. What would you say like your average on clothing? Like what
Mhm.
is your average sale cost?
My average sale, like my buy price.
Like the price that you sell your clothing at.
Oh, the average sales price. I like to stick between $25 and $30. It's a really
Okay.
safe, repetitive number to hit. Something I really like to talk about is, man, like how often are you going to find $100 items? Probably
Yeah,
not too often, but
very
you can
rare.
find $20 items all day of the week. I mean, literally all day. So I'd
Yeah.
rather make a $5 profit real quick and just keep flipping and flipping and flipping and just doing it that way. So yeah,
Yeah.
between 25 and 35 bucks is really kind of where I try to stay at. Obviously there's sales that are higher, there's some that are lower, but that's really my range there.
Yeah, that's really smart, man. I feel like that's a more sustainable business
Mhm.
because from what I've uh, people that follow me, from what I usually do, or I'd say it's part of what I do, is I'll
Mhm.
go to like Ross, Marshalls, Burlington, and I'll search for different shoes. I'll basically maybe pay 20 bucks for a shoe, sell
Mhm.
it for 60 after fees, make $20.
Yeah.
But I'll go into the store for maybe 10, 15 minutes, grab anywhere from 1 to 5 pairs and then get out. So it's it's not bad, but sometimes I'll go to stores and I'll get nothing for
Mhm.
2 or 3 hours. So it's
Right.
like sometimes I also have the huge home runs, but what you do I feel like is really consistent. Like no matter what, there's so much inventory, it's
Mhm.
not limited. Like
Exactly. There's too much inventory. Like you and I met
yeah.
because of TikTok. You kind of know,
Yeah, I know the
all the
situation.
drama on TikTok, right? And people think used clothing is limited in America. I don't understand why. It baffles me when these people still come at me and like I show them facts and they still just don't understand it. They don't want to understand that there's too many clothes in America. I could take someone to a thrift store and be like, look at all these clothes. They'll be like, no, that's still not enough. There's not enough clothes. But for your hustle, it's a little bit different because if I walk into a thrift store, say there's 10,000 items on the racks, right? Let's say that's a crazy
Yeah.
number. Most resellers would kind of go one by one, and then kind of like scan through every single thing. Whereas you can go to Ross and there's maybe only 100 pairs of shoes on the rack. So yeah, you may spend a little bit more time maybe driving to Ross's here and there. Maybe sometimes you don't find anything, but it's also a little bit easier, I want to say, to actually find stuff for you as far as like physically of walking into a store and like literally just finding something. Whereas in a thrift store, you have to
Yeah.
work for it. At the bins, you have to work for it. So it's a big reason why I stopped going to the bins, man. My back sucks. Like I can't just bend over all day. Like literally, it kills me. Like the physical aspect of it, it just took a toll on me after a while, and I stopped doing it. But that's kind of the beauty and the kind of crux of thrift stores is it's exciting because it is a treasure hunt, but it's also like,
But
man, it's a treasure hunt. Like there's
yeah,
some
it's
days
like
where
a
you walk
real
in, you're
like
like,
you gotta really find. I
yeah,
wouldn't necessarily say the needle in the haystack because it's not like you're just trying to find one thing, but you're
right.
just you gotta find all the needles in the you know what I mean?
Exactly.
You gotta go through and look through everything.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And that's one of those things where when people ask me how I do this, like I spend about an hour at a time at a thrift store. I really don't spend too much more time than that. But at this point, I'm not going one by one. I'm not looking at every single item on the rack. At this point, I have 3 years of knowledge up in this tank, and I'm like, okay, I remember that pattern. I remember that patina that certain brand does on their clothing. I
yeah,
know cargo pockets, like thick cargo pants and pockets. People like that. I know what nylon looks like. I know what wool looks like. So I can literally spot a wool jacket from halfway across the thrift store and be like, okay, I'm gonna go get that. That's how my brain works now. So it's almost like it's a muscle memory of fabrics and patterns. So it's really just like pattern recognition now. And it sounds crazy to people like listening to this or watching this that don't understand that, but that's really what it is. I mean, it's
Yeah.
once you do this, I mean, dude, once you sell like this many clothes, you see it all the time. You see the same repetitive crap and the same brands all of the time. So you just memorize it. It's really not that hard after a while, you know?
Yeah. At some point, you've almost seen it all. You know what I mean?
Exact. I mean, I don't
I
want to say that, but I mean, yeah, I've almost
yeah.
seen it all. I mean, I found Supreme at thrift stores. I found fake Balenciaga at thrift stores. Like I ran the gamut of a lot of things. And then again, with my background of having all these friends that were bougie as heck and they were into all these brands, I learned about all these brands, you know, so I know what Balenciaga is. I know what Vlone is. I know what all these like little hype brands are. So if I did find it in a thrift store, I'd be like,
Oh
okay,
yeah.
that's cool. You
Yeah.
know, I'll take it.
I think like there's a huge barrier between like the normal regular person just starting off trying to do clothing,
Yeah.
and then like the point that you're at now. Like
Mhm.
you said before, basically you know all these little tiny details, you know all these tiny brands, you
Mhm.
know what type of I think the big thing for a
Mhm.
lot of people, you're like, you know what type of fabric is, you know the different styles. When
Mhm.
you go to look that up on eBay, it's extremely hard to look up some, I'm not saying all clothing brands,
Mhm.
but some niche clothing brands, if you don't
Mhm.
know the different styles,
Oh yeah.
the different types of clothing,
Mhm.
and that I feel like is a huge like money hole because you know
100%.
those things.
Mhm.
Somebody else, there could have been 10, 15, 20, 25 different resellers that went through the same
Yeah.
Goodwill or thrift store that you went through, but they
Mhm.
would have not been able to pick up that certain either vintage piece or just whatever it is,
Mhm.
because you knew that specific style, the fabric it was made out of, and all
Mhm.
the little details about it. I feel like that's what really separates you.
That's where the money's at. I mean, listen, I can tell you, be like, hey, dude, like, go buy these 25 brands right now. You will make $1 million. You would probably fail, right? It's just, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't,
Yeah,
like, just because something is North Face, just because something is Nike doesn't mean it's worth money whatsoever. I mean, you can go to TJ Maxx and get North Face and Nike. It's not special, right? So
yeah,
it's knowing the subcategories of every single brand and knowing like, okay, this North Face is worth $1,000, whereas this is worth $20, you know, and knowing what actual garments are called. So styles of jackets, styles of sweaters. So you can actually look those up. Like you were saying, a lot of people have issues even literally just looking things up. Like if you just type in North Face jacket onto eBay, you're gonna get ones that are $30. You're gonna get like $4,000 Supreme jackets. It's like, bro, that doesn't help anyone. So it's one of those things where I have a lot of people ask me about clothing on our social medias. I always steer them away from it unless they have some like intrinsic knowledge or some or I can tell they really like they like clothes, they like fashion, they understand it, you know? So like
yeah,
someone like you, if you don't like fashion, I'd be like, all right, dude, like what do you like? Like, do you like gaming headphones? Do you like to play video games? Do you like to work on cars? Like, what do you like? Go down that rabbit hole. Don't go down my rabbit hole. You know, like you're gonna go crazy if you try to learn about clothes overnight. You know, and it's gonna blow your brain because there's so many. That's the thing.
yeah,
There's so many, and there's no set way to look up clothing. Whereas like electronics, it's easy. You can teach any dummy in the world to do retail arbitrage. Sorry, no offense, but it's true. You know, anyone can use
yeah,
an iPhone scanner. It literally you can teach someone that skill in about 20 minutes if they're serious, you know, and they can make
yeah,
money the same exact hour. But with clothing, dude, it's a long haul thing. And I'm telling you, I've burned through so much money trying to figure this out. I mean, I've lost thousands of dollars on bad inventory, bad clothing I just never sold. I was just going through my inventory a
wow,
week ago and I have stuff in there from 2 years ago, right? Like it's wild, and but that's okay. Like that's not a bad thing. That's totally fine. But it's one of those things where you just have to perpetually learn. You have to perpetually understand that the clothing market changes itself. You know, there's new brands coming out every single day, and there's so many niche brands that I have no idea about. You know, and then like
yeah.
women's clothing is a whole other thing. I don't even touch women's clothing. You know, like men's used clothing is
You
my niche. That's what I'm confident in. I don't touch anything else. You know?
Wow. I I thought you just did clothing in general. Just men's
Nah,
clothing
dude.
is kind of crazy.
Yeah, so men's clothing is a huge niche. Most people don't understand this, but guys buy clothes, they beat the heck out of it, and then they like get new clothes, right? Most men don't have a closet full of like 30 pairs of pants that they only wear on like Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. Like they have one pair of jeans, they beat the heck out of them, and then they like donate them or throw them away, right? Whereas women, they buy 50 million things, they never wear one of them, and then they donate them. So it's like you have a plethora of crap. Whereas men's stuff, men typically tend to buy better quality things, but beat it up. So when you can find men's clothing that's in really good condition and it's a good brand, that is a really great niche, especially on eBay, considering that the clientele there is older and there's a lot of guys on there, whereas like Poshmark is younger and it's girls and maybe it's wives buying stuff for their husbands kind of thing, but it's definitely more catered towards women. So
Yeah.
when like these kids talk crap on me on TikTok, being like, "Oh, that vintage piece is worth like $1,000 for that crappy Reebok windbreaker," I'm like, "Bro, you can go on eBay right now and get it for like $15. Like it's not
Yeah.
unique or rare or desirable. Like, what are you talking about? Just because you got ripped off on it, like, doesn't mean it's valuable."
Sometimes they don't know.
They don't know. And it's comedic. It almost makes me want to start a Depop and just start scamming, bro.
Just list things for really high. Yeah.
Right. It's comedic, but yeah, that's my niche.
So, okay, so which platforms do you sell on? Because I've heard you said Poshmark, eBay. Is there any other platforms you like?
So I only sell on eBay now. I know it kind of sounds
Oh, wow.
bad as far as like limiting ourselves, but we sold about $10,000 worth of stuff on Poshmark in the beginning. Sold about
Okay.
$5,000 on Mercari, but I quickly saw the weaknesses that those platforms had. Now Mercari is a little bit better than Poshmark, but Poshmark, man, it's just the bottom of the barrel. Like it's only set up for, I'm going to offend people by saying this. It's only set up for women that want to be social and pretend they have a business. That's just the value of it, right? They make women think that they're busy by like liking and sharing and doing all this crap when that doesn't actually add any sort of value to your business. So I have a huge problem with that. Like if you don't want to buy my clothes, then don't buy them. Like I'm not going to share my closet. I'm not going to be cute with you. I'm not going to like go to posh parties and like I'm not going to do that. That's not a real business. That's like a multi-marketing scam kind of thing, right? That's why I like eBay. We list it on there. People just buy stuff. I can run promotions. I can do every sort of like real business kind of tool through there. I have reports. I know what's going on with my business. I can run sales, and it just feels like a real tangible business. Whereas everything else is almost kind of like a joke. It's almost like, oh, I'm just finding stuff in my closet. I'm going to make a few bucks and that's it. They're not really set up for full-time resellers. So that's the problem with it. But yeah, we do eBay. We do Facebook Marketplace locally for like bigger items and things like that. But everything else, I avoid at this point. eBay works, man. It's the GOAT. It's been around for the longest. It has the most credibility, and my audience is there. Again, like my ideal customer is a young, active dude, or an active dude between 30 and 55 years old. Like that is my customer base. I'm not trying to go for 17-year-old kids that want like the coolest, Grail vintage or like any of these things. I want to go for old dudes that aren't going to complain, that it's just easier,
Yeah, it's just easier that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you said with Poshmark and Macari. It's just really less serious. I feel like the platforms in general, like talking about Macari and Poshmark, they're okay. They're nowhere as good as eBay, and they definitely have huge flaws. I know like the whole Posh sharing thing. There's some people that do kill it on Poshmark, but I found that the people that do well on Poshmark, they usually do different, I'd say like tricks. Like you said, how you'd have to share like each individual one. They'd pay for a service that automatically constantly regurgitates and shares all of the time. I've never sold on Poshmark before, but I've just heard the stories of, oh, if you want to kill it, then you got to pay for these services that will probably help you.
Well,
and I just
you're right. That's what they do.
Good.
That's what any like serious seller on there would do. But two things: it's against their terms of service to actually do that, and second, you have to pay for it. So, say you're a successful seller, and all of a sudden they ban you because you're using a bot to share your closet. Like that's crazy. Like that is
Yeah.
insane, dude. So like put your livelihood in the hands of that just because like you want to automatically share something, like it's crazy. Now I use the bot the whole time. It's about $10 a month. You just automatically run into the background, like you were saying. I'm going to preface this with saying I'm not suggesting anyone use a bot on Poshmark. Do not hold me
Say
liable for
goodbye
any.
to your Poshmark store.
I'm gonna get banned. But yeah, dude, like you said, a lot of people do kill it on Poshmark. Like there's that one couple that sells shoes, the Reason Now, whatever.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, like they
Yeah.
absolutely demolish it. But again, they have a niche. They only sell shoes. That is their niche, and they've been doing it for years, and that's all they do, and they absolutely kill it. So to say that Poshmark is garbage or bad, that's not fair, right? Like
Yeah.
it may not be good for me or for you. We may not enjoy it for whatever reason, but you can still make $1 million a year if you really wanted to on Poshmark. It just may
Yeah.
be the harder of all platforms to do that on, in my opinion. So
Yeah. I definitely agree with you. If you were just eBay or just Poshmark, eBay is definitely path of least resistance right there. Like
100%. Yeah. It's just one of those things, man. Like eBay has been around the longest. They must be coming on like 30 years now. Like it
yeah.
has to say something about the platform, you know?
Yeah.
Like a lot of people talk crap and like eBay doesn't support sellers and like there is a lot of issues with eBay. I don't want to like sugarcoat it. Like eBay sucks at sometimes. Like it seriously is not the most fun thing in the world either. Like all of these platforms have their own flaws, but eBay has had the time and the serious kind of sellers to evaluate their processes, and they're constantly building infrastructures. Whereas the other platforms, like we all know that Poshmark is never going to be like eBay. There's no one in the world that assumes that Poshmark will ever get to that level, right? Because
Yeah.
they're too niche down. That's all it is. Like
Yeah.
they only want women that want to be social. That's their niche.
Exactly. Yeah.
Whereas like Mercari actually has a pretty dang good chance of coming close to eBay. Like they really do. They have a proper setup. They know what they're doing. And they're actually like the biggest sales platform in Japan or something like that where they started. So they
Oh, I didn't
legitimately,
I didn't know that. Okay.
yeah, dude, they're a legit app. I love Mercari. I tell everyone to start on there instead of eBay just because it's so easier. You know, like anyone can learn how to sell on Mercari, but if you try to teach someone how to ship something on eBay, you're going to lose them in 2 seconds, right? So
Yeah.
it's almost like one of those things where I'd rather a new person go on Mercari, get like a few wins under their belt, and then move on to eBay kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Definitely. It was definitely pretty interesting. One main question that I had for you, you said that you have a virtual assistant that you
mhm.
employ. How was it finding that virtual assistant? Like, how was that challenge? Were you scared of trying to hire somebody for the first time? Because
Mhm.
I've seen people on social media, and sometimes like that's just their roadblock. If they just were able to put money to hire a virtual assistant, that would save them 3, maybe 4 hours a day.
Yeah, dude.
Like
So
that
yeah,
could really
it's
change their life, but they don't do it. They keep on saying they want to do it, but they just never do it.
a
And
lot of people tell me that. Yeah, I've
yeah.
had like 5 people tell me that this year. They're like, "Oh, I heard you had a virtual assistant. Like, how do we do this? I'm nervous. How does this all work? Does he speak English and all this
Yeah.
stuff?" Like, bro, come on. All right, let's talk about it. So I found ours. His name is Loretto. I found him on Upwork.com, which is just like Fiverr. It's just like a hiring website. Um, I originally hired him just to help me with listings and things like that. And he quickly just
Uh,
became like kind of like, uh-oh, is the internet broken?
uh, yeah, I think it had a
Are we good?
hiccup or something. Yeah.
Cool.
Can you
Okay.
you just repeat what you said? It just froze for like 10 seconds.
Cool. So yeah, we found him on Upwork.com. His name's Loretto. I originally hired him just to help me with eBay listings and doing my spreadsheet. He's
Yeah.
in the Philippines. I pay him $5 an hour, and he is like a sweetheart of a man. I mean, he is so good. He doesn't rip me off. Like he's a good dude. Um, I got really lucky with this dude. Like he has 100% feedback. Like, and he's made so much money on Upwork. So like I found like the goat on Upwork as far as like eBay and data entry is concerned. Um, but it's one of those things where it's you need to, okay, how do I phrase this? You need to not go into it thinking that you're like purchasing a person. You're not purchasing their time. Like you need to work on this together with them. So Loretto and I, like we built our eBay sales spreadsheet together. Like he did it for me. I told him what we wanted. We went back and forth on things. Like I tried to set this up so it was as easy as possible for him to transition into my business, right? So the last thing I want is this guy just asking me a million questions every single day. So I really just gave him the reins to do it. And I didn't like micromanage him. I didn't be like, hey, what are you doing right now? Like, why'd you charge me an hour for this? Like, why? I was like, no, just do your thing. You know what the job tasks are. Just take care of it. You know, if we have an issue, we'll handle it later. Yeah, he's in the Philippines. Pretty much our like process, I guess, is I have a spreadsheet that has anything you can ever need as far as information for a listing. So let's just talk about clothing in general, because since that's what we sell. So it'll be like the item title, it'll be the measurements, it'll be the weight of that item, and then it'll be the price I want him to sell it for, and then it'll be a custom SKU that he puts in as well for like the custom SKU feature on eBay. So all he literally does is just copies and pastes from that spreadsheet onto our eBay listing template that we created as well. So it's so dummy proof that he almost can't screw up unless he like copies the wrong title for the photos somehow. But it's so dummy proof. We've only had like maybe 3 mistakes over the course of a year. So it's pretty amazing. But
wow.
I mean, yeah, dude, this guy changed my life. I mean, literally, I taught him how to create shipping labels. So this dude from the Philippines creates my shipping labels. I wake up in the morning to a freaking email that has all of them in there, like a nice little good morning message, like what's sold, all of these things. And it's so easy. It was so easy to create, but all of these like sellers, resellers think, oh, like I'm too small for that. Oh, or like I can't afford that. If you're selling, you know, I mean, over $2,000, $3,000 a month online, you can afford a virtual assistant, like 110%. At that point, you should definitely be trying to step back and pull the reins back on what you're doing, because someone like you doing a spreadsheet and like updating your numbers every day, that doesn't make you money. That's busy.
It really doesn't.
It doesn't add any sort of value to your business. So hire there, like start there. Start with whatever you hate. So for me, it was spreadsheets. Like I loathe waking up in the morning and updating my spreadsheets. It literally is the most soul-sucking thing in the world. I just hate it. So that's what I hired for first. So yeah. But now like I have him do everything. I'm like, hey, can you edit this video? Hey, can you research this topic for our course? Like, but that's the beauty of it.
What? He edits your videos too?
I do my editing, but if I need extra help, I can have him do things like that. I've had him edit my videos, but I don't do that. I mostly use him for research now. So we have a course on eBay and things like that. So I have him pull statistics. I have him use Terapeak for me and create charts and graphs and just all of these little things that it doesn't make sense for me to do, right? Like people don't need me to do that. They don't care where that information or that data comes from. They just need the data. So it's little things like that that just really help our business grow.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely insane because some like a lot. I feel like that is one big barrier that really separates you from the pack. Like a lot of people would never take the step of I I would say instead of like okay, there's people that may be business owners, but you're more of you're actually building a business. You know what I mean?
The thing. Yeah, that's I have this huge problem with, like in the beginning I said I hate working. I truly mean that. I truly despise working, dude. Like I seriously, the least amount I can work in a day, that's my goal, right? So money doesn't mean anything to me. Money means absolutely nothing to me. Like the tangible aspect of money does literally nothing for me. I don't need nice stuff. I don't need a Ferrari, maybe one day, but my time means so much to me. It's insane. I just value my time and my family and my son and my wife. Like I just value the peace and comfort knowing that I don't have to trade my time for money, right? I buy stuff at the thrift store, I get it home, and then I'm just kind of done almost in a way. It's not passive, but I like thrifting. It's fun for me. So it's like I don't have a job almost in a way. You know what I'm saying? Like I still have a business. I still have stresses. I still have all this nonsense I have to deal with, but I don't have to deal with stupid stuff that is not my forte. And that's the crux of a lot of sellers, man. Like you see like all these old timers on eBay, like these guys have been selling on there for like 15, 20 years. A lot of them never get past this hurdle and they're grumpy. They complain. It's like, yeah, dude, you've been shipping boxes for 15 years. Of course you're miserable. What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Like you can pay a virtual assistant $5 an hour, 10 hours a week to run your store, and that will change your life. It will literally change your life overnight, you know? And
Yeah,
that's
that's
not like
crazy, man.
uncommon. It's so easy to do nowadays, and like hiring someone overseas is so great. Like Loretto speaks better English than I do, dude. Like, like man, it's
Oh,
people are so
oh
scared.
man.
You know, a lot of people
Yeah.
are scared of like overseas. They're like, oh, I'm gonna get hacked. I'm gonna get
Yeah.
scammed. Like, no, dude. Like, just because someone lives in another country doesn't mean they're out there like scamming people all day. You know?
Yeah, I think they also don't like they might want to free up their time, but they don't like they have to be a little bit less hands off. You get what I'm
Yes.
saying? Like
Mhm.
some people don't like that. They just want to do every aspect of it
I
and make
know, and
sure it's done uh right. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like
yeah, that's a problem, dude. That's coming from the culinary world. I had a huge issue with that, right? So when I was a sous chef or when I was an executive chef and one of my cooks was just doing something wrong or not the way I liked it, I'd be like, all right, bro, just get out of the way. Just move. I'll just do this myself because you clearly
yeah,
don't understand. That's not the right thing, right? So I should have taken that moment and be like, all right, listen, like, why are you struggling with this? Let's talk about it. Let's show you how to actually do this from step one so I don't have to do it. That's the thing. It's a
yeah.
teaching opportunity. And a lot of people don't want to teach and even share their secrets. A lot of people like hide and harbor like all these like eBay secrets where it's like, dude, you can go on YouTube and learn anything you want as far as secret. There's no secrets whatsoever anymore in any sort of business, you know? So
There really isn't.
there
Like
isn't.
sometimes I'll try to figure something out and it's usually messaging maybe like if I can't find it on Google,
Mm,
which is very, very rare,
yeah.
I message like I'll just bulk message like 10 people. Eventually somebody's gonna give me the answer that I want. You know what I mean?
Exactly, dude. That's how I did that with Instagram the other day. I'm like, can someone help me with my website? I need some coding help. And I had 3 people message me. I'm like, all right, well, great.
It's like, okay, we're good.
Cool. That works.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really crazy. If you don't I know I know you talked about this for a good while, but I'm just insanely like curious about this. So you put everything into so the steps is you put everything into a spreadsheet
Mhm,
about the clothing, right?
mhm.
And then he puts do you like Dropbox all of the photos to him and then he makes that into the listing and you never have to even hit like list now or how does that work?
Yeah, that's exactly pretty much how it works. He even edits my photos for me. So like,
Wow.
yeah, dude. So like, when I roll my backdrop down here, you can't see it, but sometimes when like a item is bigger, like pants or jackets or something like that, you'll see like the outskirts of my like photo studio. So he'll go in there and crop it, like adjust lighting and things like that. And yeah, he just matches it up and lists it. I don't do a single thing. Yeah, I mean, it's not always like this.
Wow.
I do some of my listings now just because of like COVID and our profits have just kind of sunk down a little bit this year. So it's kind of like half and half. Like if I only
Yeah.
have a few things, I'll just list them real quick myself. It just doesn't make sense for him to do it anymore. But if it's like a whole list of like 50 to 70 things, I'll have him do it just because I wake up the next day and it's all done. And if he has any questions, he just marks it out in red and he doesn't list it and we'll talk about it the next day. So
Wow.
it's just
That's
again, it's working with whoever you actually hired. I gave him that responsibility. I gave him that accountability. You know, a lot of people don't do that. You know, like they say,
yeah.
no, these are my rules. This is how you're gonna do it. There's no differentiating from that. Like, why would anyone want to work for someone like that? You know, like give them
Yeah.
some skin in the game. Be like, hey man, like, do you think this is a stupid process? Like, you're the one that's going to be doing the listings. What can I do for you to make your life easier? That's the thing is I tried to make this as easy as dummy proof as possible. And he loves me. I have the sweetest employee in the world, dude, just because I treat him like a business partner rather than an employee. And that's so important in my opinion. You know, it's like, yes,
Yeah.
I still give him a paycheck, but he's part of my business. I mean, he's like part of my family. He is running our business and helping my family have more free time. So his opinion is really important to me. It's really valid. And if he said my spreadsheet sucked, I'd be like, all right, bro, go make another one. I don't care. it's not, you're not going to hurt me by saying that, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of people just don't want to be like that. They don't want to be humble. They don't want to think that they're wrong, or they want to think that their process is perfect, you know? So
Yeah.
that really worked out for us. It's just built a great relationship. I really trust him. I mean, I'll send him any password in the world. He can have my banking credentials. I don't care. Like, I literally trust this guy more than my own family. It's crazy. Like,
Wow. That's a big level of trust right there.
it is, man. It's just one of those
Jeez.
things where a lot of people are scared to give that kind of free reign, and then they get stuck. They get stuck for the next 30 years shipping their stuff, and 30 years updating spreadsheets. And I don't want to be that guy, you know?
Yeah, yes. And for just to kind of wrap it up, for the shipping process,
Mm-hmm.
since everything that you sell is clothing
Mm-hmm.
and you put the weight,
Mm-hmm.
it's basically just like, so like what do you do for like the sizing? Because I know there's different bags,
So
there's different types of
yeah, dude. So I mean, as far as like most of our shipping stuff, Jesus, most things are going to go in just a poly bag or
uh-huh.
a flat rate envelope. So
Yeah. So
in
then
the custom SKU feature that I was telling you about earlier, and like the little custom code that we put in, I'd be like, all right, this shirt is 8 ounces. If it's 8 ounces, it's going to go first class. You don't need dimensions for anything that's first class. But if it's something like a sweater, and I know it's going to go flat rate, I'll just put like PFR ENV. So he selects
yeah.
that instead. He doesn't need anything else at that point. Now, when it comes to like jackets or like things like that, I'll usually just figure that out later by myself, and I'll ship those heavier kind of weird bulky things that I need to like figure out a box for. But
Yeah.
clothing, and 99% of it, he literally just selects it, types in 9 ounces, and we're done. It's
Wow.
so easy. So if someone is watching this and they're like a full-time clothing seller, dude,
You,
this will change your life. Like,
you li-
seriously, it will change your life.
that's some people's dream, to just go out there every day, spend
Mhm.
some people are crazy, but they want to spend 10, 12 hours a day out in the stores in thrifting and finding these items, but they
Mhm.
never actually want to, like, they might be okay with taking photos, but they hate listing.
Yeah.
I've always seen, like you said earlier, like these resellers, they're 6 years old, they're tired. They
Mhm.
look tired,
Yep.
right?
Yeah. Yeah,
But and
dude.
they're like, okay, guys, let's try to list 25 items today. They're like on a live show. Like, come on, guys, we can do it. We're gonna list 25 items
Right.
because
It's
they
true.
hate it,
I know they hate
but
it.
they gotta do it.
Right. You don't make money unless you're doing listings. There's nothing on eBay that makes you money except for doing listings, right? You have to get products out there. When you see the people with debt piles this high, that was me. That's why I did this, dude. Like, when we started into clothing, the volume is so high. I mean, in a good week, let's say I can buy, 100 to 200 items in a good week.
Yeah,
That sucks, dude. That sucks to list. That sucks to process. That sucks to, take photos and do all these things. It really, really is not fun by any means. So I had death piles. I mean, I had all these issues. I mean, I had like a list of 200 items that needed to get listed. And I mean, think about how much money that is just sitting there, right? But
yeah,
I
that's
didn't want to list them. I was just lazy. I was beating around the bush and just all that stuff. And hiring someone to just do that, if you do anything else, just do that one single thing to get your listings done. You will wake up the next morning and have your listings done. So
yeah.
yeah, yeah, dude.
That yeah, absolutely insane. I've met very few people that have a process uh like you have actually laid out. There's people that I've watched on YouTube that have a very large following,
Hmm.
but they still haven't figured out something like what you've done. And I feel like a lot of their barriers is, even after they'll hire somebody, they
Hmm.
won't treat them right, like
Right.
how you treated your virtual assistant, and then they'll keep on having. I've heard a lot of different problems
Hmm.
where basically their virtual assistant will either just not want to do the job, or
Hmm.
they'll have somebody in person, which is very costly. Somebody in
Yes.
the United States, absolutely costly. They have cash flow issues, and then
Yeah.
the employee might not even be motivated to work, which
Right.
I don't blame them either.
I mean, yeah, no one wants to do this job. Like, it's people glorify reselling so much. Like this is not a glory job. This is not something that you're going to get like a pat on the back for and like you're going to enjoy every day. Let's say 80% of reselling sucks. The 20% is great. The thrifting part is great, but that's literally like this much. You know, you're only thrifting so many hours in a week. I mean, 5 to 10 hours in a week. The rest of the time you're doing listings, you're doing customer service, you're doing everything else that you don't want to do what a real business does. That's the thing. Like if you hire someone locally, you're going to be paying them at least like, 12 to 15 bucks an hour minimum, right? To do all these things for you. There's no way you'll find someone cheaper. And if you do, good luck, right? And it's one of those things where people don't think about process. They just think about, oh, I have this item and I want to sell it. That's all they think about. Whereas I'm like, no, like I have these items and I want to get them all sold in the easiest way possible. And that comes from like my culinary experience. Like this, it all kind of comes full circle, right? So working in New York City as like the fashion guy, I learned about clothing. But my first career from 18 to 25 years old, I mean, I got to an exceptionally high level of cooking. I mean, exceptionally high, like Michelin star level. I spent 1 week in that kitchen and I quit. Awful experience, but I got to the dream level. Like there was no real higher level of culinary that I could have gone, right? If I would have kept pushing, but I backed out too fast.
Did you actually work in a Michelin kitchen?
Yeah, for 1 week. So
wow.
Yeah,
Jeez.
so dude,
that's congratulations.
Yeah, dude. So I spent time in 2 Michelin kitchens. One of them was just for just for fun, just for a couple nights to go work and help them out. But that was my goal. Like at the time when I moved to New York City, I had an interview at literally the #1 restaurant in the world at the time. It was called 11 Madison Park. I mean, this restaurant was insane. Like it was a 3 Michelin star place. Just to even get an interview there was crazy. Long story short, I didn't make the interview just because of some crazy stuff that happened. But I got this other job at a 1 Michelin star restaurant. I absolutely despised it. It was one of the worst jobs ever. Like just the space, the crampedness, making $9 an hour, working 16 hours a day. I couldn't do it, dude. Good. Like it killed me. And this was after I was an executive chef. I ran the gamut of restaurants. Like I've been a manager, I've done it all kind of thing, But because I did it all, because I was a manager, because I was an executive chef, and I saw the numbers side of things in restaurants where most people don't see how much money an actual restaurant makes. You know, I learned the process of everything. Whereas a lot of people, they may like become a line cook and they just like go there and they fry some stuff and they go home. They don't get into that process of getting to that high level. Like most people think like working in a Michelin star kitchen is harder than a normal kitchen. It's not true. In a Michelin star kitchen, you know exactly what's happening every single second of the day because it's all outlined. There's such a stringent process to it that you have to adapt or you won't survive.
Wow.
I almost compare it to the military. I don't ever want to compare it to, going to war, but it's about the closest thing you can ever compare it to because the kitchen structure, like from the executive chef down, is structured like the brigade system of a military unit. So it runs the same exact way. So I never went to the military. I never did anything like that, but that was like my training as a man, and I learned about process because I worked with a lot of great people that just beat it in me, dude. Like, do it this way, you do it this way every single time. You keep repeating it. You never sway from this one singular way you do it because this is the right way you do it. And it stuck with me. Same with eBay. Like when I do something, I do it the same way every single time on eBay. And that sounds monotonous to most people. And it sounds like it sucks. And it does, it's not fun, but it's a process, and it's a process for a reason because it works. So,
you're just doing what works all the time. That's really interesting. I've never heard somebody talk about cooking like that. As like I'd say like an average person that sort of likes cooking. This might be pretty bad to say, but I've watched Hell's Kitchen before, and Gordon Ramsay, the way that he treats the people on that show, I can definitely see him almost being like a drill sergeant in a way.
Oh, dude. So
where everybody has a task, and
he
does get on their case if they don't do it right, for sure.
Dude, so I'll tell you three things real quick and then whatever. First thing, I actually applied for Hell's Kitchen when I was younger. When I was,
Oh my,
yeah, dude, when I was
yes,
20,
honorary Hell's
yeah,
Kitchen.
dude, when I was
Oh,
21, I passed the first interview, the first round of things. I got invited to the second one. They put a camera in my face, and as soon as I saw that light turn on the camera, I'm like, I couldn't say anything. I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? Like, I can't talk on camera. I was young. I
wow.
didn't have like this kind of camera presence or demeanor or comfort with it back then,
Yeah.
right? I was just like a stupid little grimy cook that thought he can make it on TV. Um, Gordon Ramsay came up in a whole different time of culinary. Like the time he came up in French kitchens, he came up just being brutalized, right? It's what you see on TV is not real. Like that's a persona.
Yeah,
There's
of course.
very few chefs in the world that would ever treat their staff like that at this point. It doesn't happen. That is so old school. But he fluffs it up for TV, obviously. Like Hell's Kitchen is a
Of
whole
course.
nother
Yeah.
thing. I've never had a chef talk to me like that. I mean, I've had some really rude people. I mean, people tell you suck every single day. Like you were told you suck every day, your food sucks, like you're doing this wrong. That is a constant thing, but it's also to help you grow as a cook. You know, you
Yeah.
need to hear that you suck or else you'll never get better.
Yeah.
Um, it's one of those career fields that you can't fake it. Either you're good or you're not good. It doesn't matter if you're my cousin and I vouch for you. Like if you're garbage, you're garbage. No one's going to keep you around. It's just,
Yeah.
there's so much accountability because it gets so serious so fast. And if someone's not good, you can't have them in the kitchen. Just kind of like, say like a Navy SEAL team. If you have one fat dude in there, you're going to be like, all right, Joe, you got to get out, bro.
Yeah.
You're too fat to be in the Navy SEALs, you know? But it kind of comes down to like, I don't know, dude. The culinary world is so weird. It's so weird. And people have all of these like ideas about it. Like they think they're going to go to culinary school and become Gordon Ramsay. That's not
Yeah.
true. No one becomes Gordon Ramsay. Most people go there, they become fry cooks, they're miserable, and then they quit after a few years. That's the like kind of cycle of a cook usually. But then there's like psychos like me that just go down the rabbit hole and like really love to cook. Like I love cooking, I love the science of it, and I love the process and the madness of it. But I would never go back to
Yeah.
that world because it's awful. You know, it drove
Yeah.
me crazy. You know,
Eh, from what I've heard, any like restaurant owner,
Mhm.
usually their kids, they're like, I don't want them in the
Oh yeah.
business. Like they don't want
Mhm.
them in the food bit. They're like,
Yep.
we're selling this. You're
Yep.
not gonna work in the food business. They never want it for their kids, but they did it for whatever reason. You know
Yep,
what I
it's
mean?
true. A lot of restaurant owners say that. My dad was a chef for 30 years. The thing he always told me as a kid, do not ever work in kitchens. Do not ever work in a kitchen. Seriously, dude, like that's all he ever beat in my head, right? He was doing this for 30 years. I decided to go into kitchens and I loved it. It really worked for me and my personality because I'm crazy. I had a lot of fun with it. I had a pretty good career path. You know, like I did well for myself in the short time that I was there. You know, I went from like knowing nothing to working in a Michelin star kitchen. Like it was pretty crazy. And I'm very,
Yeah.
very grateful for that experience. But I would never want my son to do that. You know, it's like the amount of negativity and the amount of abuse you face in kitchens just from drugs, alcohol, cigarettes. I mean, people, the kind of people you meet in kitchens are crazy. Like you really have some of, I don't want to say the bottom of the barrel people, but you have some pretty degenerated people that put some crazy stuff in your head, right? Like most people I knew that worked in kitchens for a long time were alcoholics or drug addicts. Pretty much everyone was, you know?
Yeah.
And going back to like the hard aspect of it, I want to tell you this story.
Yeah,
When
sure, man.
I was interviewing at a 2 Michelin star kitchen called a Terra in New York City.
Right.
This kid came in late, like one of their employees that was like a full-time guy. Came in late. The dude had a black eye, right? He just got beat up. He goes up
Uh-huh.
to the chef, and I'm standing there. I can hear them talking. I can hear all of this. He's like, "Hey, man, like I was walking to work, and some dudes jumped me, and they stole my phone." Dude, the chef looked at him. He's like, "All right, don't be late next time." I'm like, "Oh my god, oh my god." Like, dude,
Absolute savage.
I couldn't, I couldn't believe it. And he was dead serious. They were not playing. It was 100% serious.
Wow.
That's the kind of level you're at. You know, it's when you're
That's
charging $400 for a meal, you need to be at that level. Everyone needs to be on the same page, or it doesn't make sense for that person to be there. You know,
yeah.
but yeah, that's my crazy history with that.
Wow, that's a very, very, very interesting story. Definitely so unique. I'm just I'm just thrown back by that.
It's a lot.
This this might go off track a little bit, but
Who cares?
uh when I was like in like middle school, I was like, I want to be a chef, and then
Mm,
I spend a good bit of time observing people and like what they do.
mhm.
I just kind of like it, and I saw like the path of a chef, and I was like, I am not gonna do that. I'm not. I was like, I look at the end game. I'm like,
Yeah,
the end game's just so bad.
so
But
bad, dude.
like
Like,
with
yeah,
reselling, it's like like it's whatever you want it to be. Like
exactly.
the sky is the limit.
Yep,
Like you
dude.
can be pretty bad. You can ship
Mhm,
your stuff. You can print your own labels. You can
mhm,
list your own things. Like you could have a pretty crappy like even $10 an hour job just thrifting, but you
mhm.
could also be making 30, $40, 50. Like the sky's the limit. You never know.
Dude, for a reseller to make 50 grand a year take home is not very hard. Like 40
Yeah,
to $50,000 a year profit, that's you only need to do like 100 to 120 grand in sales a year. That is not a lot. To make
yeah,
50 grand a year as a chef, dude, you're working 50 to 60 hours a week for that money. You're getting beat up. Like you said, there's no end goal. Like if I would have went
yeah,
down the Michelin star route, I would have stayed there. I would have started working in Michelin star kitchens. I would have literally given my life away. I would have never met my wife. I would have never had my son. I would have given my life away for culinary. I would have been
yeah,
every single weekend, every single holiday. That's how it was. Dude, from 18 to 24 years old, I was not out getting drunk with my buddies at night. Like I was cooking for people. Like literally, I was cooking for people on Valentine's Day, on Christmas, on Thanksgiving. Like I was cooking. I wasn't enjoying. I wasn't living life. I have these
yeah,
really vivid memories of like my early years in kitchens, and we this was in Key West, so it was on an island, and we were right on the water, like right on the dock. I could literally just walk out the side door of our restaurant and jump into the water, into the Gulf of Mexico. Right? It was that like close. It was
yeah, yeah,
literally 3 feet away from the door. Um, I would sit there in the middle of like the night. It was like 6 o'clock, right before the rush would start, and I would see the sun start setting, and it would just be beautiful outside. And we would all just go outside, take a pause, maybe smoke a cigarette, and just look. And then you're just shut in the kitchen for the next 5 to 6 hours cooking, while everyone else, they're out there getting drunk, they're out there making memories, they're out there having fun, enjoying the sunset, and they're living life. Whereas you're in a kitchen, you're serving, you're doing. It's
yeah,
just, it's, it messes with your mind, man. Like, especially as like a young man, right? It beats you up because you want to be out there having fun. You want to be out there getting girls and doing all these things, but you can't. You're cooking. But again,
exactly.
because I skipped over that kind of part of my life, like the whole like go out and party and get trashed and do all that stuff. I was cooking, I was working, and I understood what hard work was, right? Whereas all my other buddies, they're all just losers. It's like they never
Yeah,
had that instilled into them. They never were that sad, and they never saw that kind of desperation of wanting to get out of the kitchen and wanting to like actually go out for
yeah,
Valentine's Day dinner myself. You know, it's
yeah.
it messes with your mind.
Yeah, having to work really hard definitely. I feel like it almost like like you said, like you were in the kitchen, you were working really hard. You
Mm-hmm.
have that trait, so you have that personality trait where you have to. I'd call it a personality trait at least, where
100%.
you have this like, oh, I need to work hard now. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? And
it's true.
you still have that in your business. So
It's true. But it's
that's
also one of those things where a lot of people may not work hard in their life. Maybe like they go to college and they get a desk job and they're just miserable. I don't want to say that's not hard. It's hard in a different way. But physical hard labor is a whole nother beast, man. Like it instills something into you, it like instills
yeah,
work ethic and confidence and a certain demeanor, right? Like there's no one that can tell me that I'm lazy. There's not a single person in the world that can tell me I'm lazy, because I'm like, bro, you have no idea what I've done. You have no idea how hard I've worked to get to this level, to get to the point to where it's what, 6 o'clock almost now. And I'm talking to you on this for fun, not for money, right? This is for fun.
yeah,
This is for us. This is for us to grow our following. Whereas right now, I'd be in the middle of a dinner service, dude, like just busting my ass, being in a dangerous situation, maybe getting cut,
yeah,
maybe getting burned, like all of these things. But I'm here doing this, so I'm so grateful. Like I am so
Yeah.
grateful about this business, about what reselling offers to me. And like, I can talk crap on, you know, the reselling community and like eBay and like all these things. But at the end of the day, like, this is my life, like life's work is almost like, it sounds kind of weird, but I've been through
Yeah.
the hard part and now I'm just ready to chill. I'm ready to go out to dinner with my wife.
Yeah.
I'm ready to experience a sunset. I'm ready to have people cook for me, you know? So,
Yeah.
and it took
Yeah.
years to get to this point. It really did. It took a long, long time to actually get to this point and to stop working so hard. But this is the only kind of life I want, you know? So that's why we're working so hard on growing our following and affiliate marketing and ads and just all of those things. Because again, passive income is all I want, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's absolutely beautiful, man. I think I think just your story in general is like it it's just really it's just really insane how it's like a perfect mash of these different scenarios that you had where you
Mm-hmm.
had to get this certain type of, I'd say, like, you different traits, different
Mm-hmm.
experiences that other people, like, I'm gonna use the same example as before, like those old people that are still, they're like, hey guys, let's list some stuff on
Mm-hmm.
eBay. Maybe
Yeah.
they don't have the skills or the know-how to do that, but you have
Mm-hmm.
like a certain you have these different traits from these different places that basically just make the perfect mix, the
Mm-hmm.
perfect yeah, I don't know, like the perfect dish of just,
Yeah.
you know, it allows you to do what you want to do. Because I feel like what you're doing is really great. You're gonna
Mm-hmm.
do absolutely well. But
Thanks,
the
man.
thing is, a lot of other people, they don't have that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I like, say me personally, I
Mm-hmm.
haven't ever hired anybody before.
Mm-hmm.
Frankly, I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna be pretty scared if I hire somebody at first. But I know that's the thing that I have to do eventually. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Yeah,
If
but
you want to actually make good money, you more than likely have to hire somebody.
right. You're 20 or 21, you said?
I'm 21. Just I've said a good bit on my channel, but for your viewers to know,
Mm-hmm.
little backstory about myself. Right now I'm 21. I currently do still work at McDonald's.
Oh,
I
heck
go
yeah.
to I'm sorry, I go to college,
Mm-hmm.
and basically, for the people that don't know, a lot of these entry level jobs, I think, even, don't quote me on this, but I think even some like Uber drivers are able to get benefits. A lot of people don't know they go into to debt for school,
Mm-hmm.
but for McDonald's, they have a program. A lot of GMs and owner operators don't tell you about this,
Mm-hmm.
but they'll actually pay for your college while you're working.
Wow.
So I
Dude, that's
get
awesome.
so I get basically, I like to call it an allowance. They give me, I don't know if I'm I don't know if I'm able to say the amount, but it's under $3,000 that a year that they
Wow.
that so I get to basically take classes for free. Currently, I still do live with my parents, but I'm taking classes for free. I'm
That's
working at
awesome, dude.
McDonald's, and I'm trying to really make reselling work out. So that's
Dude,
basically just kind of who I am and what I'm doing. And I am also really excited to just connect with other people, like like
dude,
you here
it's
today. But
it,
I mean, everybody's got their own journey. Everybody starts at a different spot.
yeah.
I'm not ashamed. Some people shit on. So I guess I'm in the food service,
Mm-hmm.
sort of like you, but I'd say it's way different. People have a lot different perspective of McDonald's versus a Michelin star restaurant.
Right.
But I'd say like, arguably,
Mm-hmm.
there's definitely people that don't work very hard at McDonald's, but I'd
Okay.
say McDonald's in general is like a, compared to like a retail job. Say you work at a mattress place, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just, I as far as my knowledge, you basically just stand around, maybe talk to a few people, answer questions. I'd consider that a pretty easier job. At McDonald's,
100%.
they work you, like,
Oh, yeah.
you have to make the different sandwiches.
Mm-hmm.
The customers get mad at you. Like, it's a whole process. So
Yep.
I'd say that's it's I'd say it's pretty hard work too, and I do eventually want to get out of it. I've worked at McDonald's for a few years, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
about to graduate college. So that's just a little. So I don't want to talk too much about myself,
Yeah, you
but
go.
that's just a little sum up of who I am and what I'm working on right now. Um,
Dude, if anyone talks crap on you for working at McDonald's, they have no idea what they're talking about. I won't
Yeah.
ever downplay any, like, yeah, I've worked in Michelin star kitchens, but kind of how I said in the beginning, working in a Michelin star kitchen is easier than, like, say, like a lower end restaurant, just because of the
Yeah.
systems in place. The people that you have working there are all in the same common goal. Whereas at
Yeah.
McDonald's, you may be a good employee, but 10 other people may be just completely crappy and high out of their minds, right? Like, they're just there, they're just bodies.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
dude,
So then
like,
you have to,
yeah, you have
yeah.
to pull their weight. And there's nothing easy about working at McDonald's or in fast food. I think it's one of the hardest jobs you could literally ever have, because there's no passion behind it, but you're still doing the same repetitive stuff. Whereas, like, in a Michelin star restaurant,
Exactly.
most likely you're going to be passionate about it. So it's not really a job. Like, you're choosing to be there, but McDonald's is just a grind, right? And a lot of people
Yeah.
grind out through there. And a lot of people talk crap on the fast food industry, dude. Like, I've worked, not in fast food like that, but I've worked in faster food, like just quick kind of nonsense
Yeah.
food, right? And just crappy food. It is so
Like
hard, man.
fast casual.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
People don't understand that. Like, they really just don't understand that no matter what you do in food or beverage, even Starbucks, dude, Starbucks is so hard. How many corporate
Yeah.
people do you think could actually hang one day in Starbucks or McDonald's? How
They,
many corporate
they can't.
schmucks can do that? You know, you can have
They
these
can't.
kids. Yeah, dude, like, some of these kids go to college for 25 years and they can't even, like, physically work or talk to people. They just have a degree and they think
Yeah.
they're smart. Whereas, like, you,
Yeah.
I'm almost jealous of you, dude. Like, I wish I would have started, like, my whole career path and, like, my whole social presence at 21. Like, I mean that. I'm not even just telling you that to fluff you up. Like, what you're doing is amazing. If I had the
Yeah.
mental awareness that you do at 21, I'd be so far ahead, but I didn't. Dude, at 21, I was on the boat smoking blunts with my buddies and chasing after girls and just doing crazy stuff, right? I was not as focused as you are. And you're, like, downplaying the whole McDonald's thing. Like, you're doing, like, dude, don't downplay that. Like, you're hustling, dude. Like, I never went to college because I'm a dummy. I can't learn. I don't do school. It doesn't work for me. But the fact
Yeah.
that you're a reseller, you work at McDonald's, you're going after college, and you're trying to build this presence, dude, like, that's insane. Like, there's not a lot of 21-year-olds that are
Yeah.
doing as much as you are. So you should really be proud of that, you know? So if that makes you feel any
Thank you,
better.
man. Yeah, that I I do beat myself up a good bit, not gonna lie. But yeah, I really appreciate it. It is it just going a bit further. For the people that never put themselves out online,
Mm-hmm.
I'm new to this.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say more or less I'm pretty new to just like talking to a camera, trying to get used to it. But I feel like it's such a valuable skill to learn. Like you have to learn it.
You
Like
have to, dude.
you like it's just such a great skill being able to just even market yourself out there, you know what I
Oh,
mean?
dude.
Or
Yeah.
connect with people. Like
Yeah.
I
Dude,
want to
yeah. Right.
like just to talk to you,
Yeah.
this could have literally this could have literally saved me like 20 years of my life if I was just a straight eBay seller. I'm
Right.
not kidding.
Yeah.
If
No.
I talked to you
Yeah.
about the if I talked to you about your virtual assistant and then I figured out, oh, I can just hire a virtual assistant. I don't have to do, I'd say, I'm gonna be generous, a quarter of the work, right? Like a
Right.
quarter of the eBay listing work. That frees up so much time. That frees up so much of my life. You could have literally saved me 20 years if
Exactly.
somebody didn't put their self out there
Right.
and they didn't do that. They
Mhm.
would have been a miserable schmuck for 20 years. Like
Exactly.
you know what
That's
I
the
mean?
thing, dude. Like, that is the thing. So obviously, like, with what happened in 2020, like, everyone's had a lot of time to reflect, right? I heard
Yeah,
this quote that said 2020 built watchers, it built millionaires, and it built billionaires, right? So some people are just
yeah,
going to sit around. They're always going to talk about the same stuff. They're always just going to consume content. Whereas
yeah.
I'm new to this too, dude. Like, I started Resell Junkie in all of our channels from a random conversation about 6 months ago. Just me and my wife had this
Oh
random
wow.
conversation because we had other things fail. We had two people just completely screw us as far as, like, products we were developing and things we were trying to do as side hustles. But then I'm like,
Yeah,
hey, like, let's create a course. Let's start, like, taking this serious and, like, doing YouTube videos and things like that. Now, I've had something
yeah,
recently that has really changed my life in a big way on YouTube. I don't want to talk about it yet just because it's not ready yet. We're gonna launch that in like a month and a half. But
Yeah,
it's
no problem,
something,
man.
dude. It's something that I had 700 followers, and what happened to me, no one's gonna really believe. So it's kind of crazy. The power of YouTube, the power of social media, if you treat it like a business, it is so overwhelming. The kind of people you can meet and the kind of things you can learn. Like, you like how you were saying, like,
Yeah,
I could have changed your life just because of this conversation. I have had several people change my life this year just because of stupid random conversations or running into them on Instagram or whatever it may be. And it's one of those things where, kind of circling back, 2020 happened and everything happened and we were all stuck in the same situation. We all got
yeah,
almost like a clean slate. That's how I look at it. Now, some people obviously had a really bad time. Like, I don't want to downplay that. Like, some people really got screwed with their
yeah,
jobs and just health and things like that. But if that didn't happen to you, if you didn't like lose your job or lose your health or, any of these bad things that happened, we all had a neutral playing
yeah,
ground. Like, it was 100% neutral. Everything stopped in the world. That's the thing. Everything. So it gave everyone a time to reflect. And I'm
a
like, dude,
reset.
we are going ham on this whole internet thing because this is the second wave of YouTube. I firmly believe that. Like, the first wave happened when YouTube came out, and that's like when all the big guys kind of made their name, like, MKHB and
Yeah,
like Peter McKinnon, all these guys that are super hot shots, like the nice stats in the world, right? Like, that was their
yeah,
um, most of us couldn't have had that chance anymore until something like this happened. So now people are stuck at home. They're consuming more content. Maybe they're getting bored. So they're like, okay, I'm going to start creating content, right? Like,
yeah.
that's what happened to me. I'm like, man, like, we're stuck at home. I have nothing to do. Like, the thrift stores are just whatever right now. Like, I'm going to just start creating stuff for
Just make
people.
some
And
content.
dude, it changed my life. Like, 6 months into this, like, it's amazing. It's just having opportunities like this to talk to
Abs.
people like you and hear stories. It's so cool. You know.
Yeah, it definitely is so cool. Like you learn like I don't know about you. Like this might sound a little bit weird, but I'm really like this. Okay, I hope hopefully this doesn't piss anybody off, but
Oh,
I like I know some really bad things happened during the pandemic.
yep.
People have lost lives, whatnot. But and I'm very sorry for that. But I'm very grateful that before I used to go to stores to
Hmm.
source and find product.
Hmm.
Now a lot of what I'm working on and what I do is I sit at home, I click buttons on my computer, and I find arbitrage situations, and
Yeah.
I never leave my house, and it's
Hmm.
getting to the point where I'll make more money. I'll be making more money doing that than
Hmm.
actually working, going out of my house,
Yep.
doing all of these different things.
Hmm.
Like it's just insane, and the
Yeah.
scalability of it is
Hmm.
is abs
Oh yeah.
like I kid you not, at night I'll be up at like 3 in the morning, which is really bad, but I'll be up at like 3 in the morning, and I know I need to wake up the next day,
Yeah.
and I'll be like, the potential is absolutely insane.
Yep.
Like you can find a arbitrage situation online where um say say okay, next Christmas for example, you could call toy manufacturers and
Hmm.
then figure out which ones have very low supply. You could look at the keepa graphs and
Yep.
then see how much uh how fast a product is selling.
Hmm.
So then you can basically know, okay, I know this, or it you more or less know that the product's going to sell out, right?
Right. Yeah.
You could buy a whole stockpile of them
Hmm.
and then sell them when Amazon runs out of stock and make an absolute killing.
Yeah. Dude, I saw an Instagram post about someone selling Oreos for like $100, like the Lady Gaga Oreos or something
The
like that. I didn't look into it.
Lady Gaga Oreos, yeah.
Dude, like, one of my followers sent that to me. She's like, "Is this legit? And why does this happen?" And I kind of told her what you just pretty much said. I'm like, That's crazy." And what you're doing, I'm jealous of.
Yeah.
Like, the whole online arbitrage thing, like, I'm so jealous of that. So we'll have to talk about that, like,
I'm,
one day. Like, I'm your brain about it. But man, that's good for you
I,
for doing
I'm
that.
still I'm still relatively new to the online arbitrage,
Mhm.
but I definitely know that there is some huge opportunities
Mhm.
for different. I don't want to. I wouldn't want to expose. I do pay for a paid
Yeah.
group, and they let me they give me different information and whatnot,
For sure.
and
Yeah.
that's really great of them, and I'd
Mhm.
say their service is amazing. So that's helpful. But if somebody just wants to do online arbitrage for free, I'd
Mhm.
say download Keepa. Just
Mhm.
go on Amazon and look at the Keepa graphs, learn how to use Keepa,
Mhm.
and then go go on these big box websites. Like I go on games the I go on GameStop.com
Mhm.
every day, right? I always try to look. Sometimes they don't have great deals, but
Mhm.
sometimes they have insane deals. You
Mhm.
can buy things from GameStop online, or sorry, GameStop.com
Right.
at a big discount and then sell it on Amazon for a lot more money. There's a lot of other
Crazy.
places that you can do that too with. You can do with Walmart, Target,
Right.
Bed Bath and Beyond. The sky is the limit. And
Yeah.
if you find a good arbitrage opportunity, you
Mhm.
can, depending on how fast it's selling, you could literally go, like, say you found like a good deal on, I don't know, like, insert website here, right? You
Mhm.
could literally go 50 deep on the product and then sell it all the next day if it's selling that fast on Amazon. And then just make money that way. You never
Yeah.
had to leave your house. The product comes to you. You put it all in a box,
Mhm.
ship it to Amazon, then Amazon ships it out to people. Sounds like a
Amazing.
dream.
It is a dream, and you only found that dream because of 2020. And like
Cause
you said,
because
like
of 2020.
right,
If
and
I
like
didn't know, I'd be
again, dude,
stuck.
I kind of me and my wife talk about this a lot. Like I don't want to upset anyone or downplay what happened in 2020. Like it sucks, but it was the
Yeah.
best year of our lives. Like it changed our lives. Like we had our son. Okay, I gotta go in a few minutes because my son's about to go to sleep. That was my wife
Okay.
yelling at me.
Sorry.
Um,
No, you're
but
good.
dude, like 2020 was the best year of our lives, like as far as like growth and like mentally, physically, and like our business and just transitioning completely as far as a business, right?
Yeah.
Like we really set in our minds that we don't want to sell physical products. We want to sell digital goods, digital services, and we want to sell our knowledge. Like that's what we want to sell. But that
Yeah.
would have never happened if 2020 didn't happen because as soon as the first lockdown happened, I'm like, okay, if this can keep happening, this is really, really scary. Like it really
Yeah.
scares me as a businessman. I'm like, this affects my income because at first the thrift stores were holding items for 72 hours before even letting you buy them. So there's no inventory. It was
Yep.
it was mind blowing, dude. So I'm like, man, like, how are we gonna do this? What are we gonna do? Because we can't keep doing this. Obviously, like, this may not work out because if the pandemic got worse, like
Yeah.
thankfully our thrift stores never fully shut down and they're normal now. But man, like just like you, same situation, dude. I'm like, all right, I need to get in front of a camera. I need to figure something else out. I need to make a course. I need to talk to people. I need to do other things. I
Yeah.
like my goal for this year is to replace my eBay income with ad revenue from YouTube. Like that's my
Oh
goal.
wow.
You know,
Okay.
and
Yeah. That,
we went
that's.
from
I
dude,
believe in you, man. You got a
thank
great
you,
setup. You got the tools in place. You got everything
dude.
up here. I really think I saw your channel and I was like, holy crap. I was like, this guy probably has like 30K. And then I like look, and then you had like 1K. I was like, oh my god. I was like, he's on like come up. It's like he's
Thanks for
on.
saying that, dude. It really does mean a lot, and it's just crazy. Like, dude, literally
I'm
four
not kidding though.
4 months ago, I had 40 followers on YouTube, and now I have 2,000. I just hit 2,000. It blows my mind, and the power of it is insane. The amount of nice comments I get, the amount of friends I've made so far. Like TikTok is a whole other story. TikTok is a lot more angrier, meaner,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like everywhere else is just
TikTok's funny.
really. Everyone else is so nice and kind, and you realize how supportive everyone is, you know, in like this whole
Yeah.
reselling community. Like everyone just wants to win. No one is out there like being cutthroat in this community. Like everyone is so cool for the most part, you know? Like
Yeah.
you and I, we can just sit here and share secrets and it's like, yeah, dude, because we want everyone to win. Like we realize that there's
Yeah.
money for everyone, you know? So it just it's it was an eye-opening year for a lot of reasons, you know.
Yeah. This
But
year was definitely really good.
yeah, but hey man.
Just for learning. And yeah. Yeah, I also do really love the community. I used to play, I still play video games every now and then, but really not that much anymore. The community on a lot of video games, very toxic.
Mm-hmm.
uh and I really like how the reseller community is just like everybody just, like you said, everybody just wants everybody else to win. Everybody just wants to better themselves. I love it.
Everyone posts like their thrift hauls and what's sold, and like everyone's always trying to teach people, even if like they're not cognizant of it, right? They
Yeah.
post stuff, but they're not like trying to teach. They're just sharing their experiences, which is that's amazing. You know, the fact that we have the power to do that is like dirty, grimy resellers. You know, it's like it's fun that even us, we can still affect people's lives in such an important way. Like you and I talking about this, like there could be some 18-year-old kid watching this right now and be like, dude, like I don't want to go to school. I hate my parents. Like, I'm going to start reselling. I'm going to leave. I'm going to leave this toxic situation, and we can change their lives because of reselling, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's the power of it, because you can take $5, flip it into 15, and you're a reseller. You don't need
Yeah.
$1 million to become a reseller. You know, eBay is free. They give you insertion listings for free. There's no excuse, right? If anyone wants to do this, they can literally download the Facebook app, go to a thrift store, and just start flipping and change their lives overnight. You know, that's
You're
the beauty of
exactly right, man.
it, you know. But dude, on that note, I'm gonna get yelled at if I keep.
Okay.
So,
Okay. I'll let you go, man.
dude,
Uh,
seriously, this was a
this,
lot of fun, and it was nice to actually
yeah.
like talk to you and meet you instead of just trading messages. And I think we should do this again for sure, dude.
Oh, really? Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I'd love to talk to you more when you have more time. I can uh sorry that we kind of talked about what you did
No, you're good.
for a while, but I was just I a lot of people I hate to carry you on, but a lot of people do
Mhm.
not have the system that you have, and
Mhm.
I think that's absolutely insane.
I love talking about that part of it. I love talking about the process and the mindset more than like the actual like eBay aspect of it. So I'm actually
Yeah.
glad it went that way. So
The
kudos.
eBay aspect, everybody else knows. I feel like the
Exactly.
huge nugget is
Yep.
having the VA, doing all that. But
I agree.
yeah, I'm sorry I didn't get to talk too much about
Dude, this is great. I loved
what
it. Seriously, dude.